Hey everybody, welcome to the extra point. Nooch isn't here, so it's not a 2-point conversion. We're going to talk about, let me get myself straight here. How's that? We're going to talk about not politics. Hell no. We're going to talk about the transfer portal. So we already went through recruiting, and at the end of National Signing Day, Brian Kelly held a press conference and he said, and I quote, he said, "We're going to be very aggressive in the transfer portal." And so far, lived up to it. But it started with the aggression in the transfer portal was guys leaving LSU. So let's run through that list. Um, Started with Ricky Collins, Landon Ibieta, CJ Daniels, Deshaun Womack, Jordan Allen, Kylan Jackson, damn it, Sheldon Sampson, Xavier Atkins, Bernard Causey, Jair Brown, whatever, Nathan Dybert, J.K. Johnson, whatever, Demarion Johnson, Kamorian Pimpton, JVR Suggs, and Sage Ryan still had eligibility. I did not know Sage Ryan still had eligibility until the day he uh, jumped in the portal. So 16 guys. And there was a couple of reactions I gave there. One was CJ Daniels. What the hell? Why would you do this? I thought CJ Daniels was targeted quite frequently last year, played well. He didn't score any touchdowns, but he played well. He was Nuss's, and Nooch and I talked about it kind of late in the year. He was kind of his third and fourth down when necessary crutch that he leaned on. Never got in the end zone. So the story there is something I'm not making up, but I can't confirm. I can confirm this. Hugh Freeze is the head coach at Auburn. Hugh Freeze was the head coach at Liberty. That's where C.J. Daniels came from, Liberty. His quarterback at Liberty is reportedly headed to Auburn. And so C.J. Daniels, maybe he's looking to align back with his head coach and his quarterback at Auburn. That's my take. Deshaun Womack, you hate to see it, but there was something outside of football wrong there. Number one, let's talk about football though. Deshaun Womack had some flashes. That's what he had. He was not a consistent producer. He wasn't a run stopper at all, and we're going to get to that later when it comes to an edge. And then towards the end of this season, he didn't even make the trip to Florida. Uh, I don't know what was going on there, but there was something outside of football. He's already signed. He hit the portal and boom, he signed with Ole Miss. So he's pissed. You can go from LSU to Ole Miss, you're pissed. Um, Down the list here, I mentioned the names, but the ones that kind of stuck out to me, Kamorian Pimpton, you love the potential, and he kind of showed what he could be in the Oklahoma game, but that's the last game of his second season here, and he finally showed something. Not terribly upset. Would have liked to have seen him stay, but we got traded as a green true freshman, kind of came in and bumped him out of the way in the same mold, tight end slash wide receiver. Certainly, neither of them are blocking tight ends. They're both 6'6", 6'7", and can run. Trades Green was used more than Kamorian Pimpton this year as a true freshman. So he's coming back. Kamorian Pimpton is off to the portal. Sage Ryan. Sage Ryan bothers me a bit. Like I said, and I'm not joking when I say I didn't realize he still had eligibility. I didn't realize he did, but he does. And the bottom line is he was much maligned at LSU. He came in as a 5-star, what? Safety. Safety. He was forced to play nickel. He was forced to play cornerback his first 3 years playing here. And when I say 3 years, well, Fish, he's still got eligibility. I'm not counting his redshirt year. I'm counting this year, this past year. He started the year opposite my man crush Ashton Stamps as a boundary cornerback because Zy Alexander was still not quite ready coming off of his knee injury last year. Once Sage got moved to safety, he was not bad. He was not great, but he was actually, I would say, good. He wasn't great. But I mean, consider going through this whole time he's been at LSU he's been played out of position, cornerback or nickel, more recently boundary corner, which he is not. Even going through fall camp as such, because Zy Alexander, if he couldn't play in the opening couple of games, well, he probably wasn't a full go during fall camp. And Sage had to play boundary corner. Then just boom, flip the switch and go to safety. I thought he did pretty well. He was absolutely the best safety we had. And I kind of wish he would be back, especially since safety, we are hurting at safety. We're going to get to who all we're bringing in, and it's impressive. To quote some dude in Top Gun, the list is long and distinguished, like my Johnson. Anyway, Sage Ryan is not going to be one of them. He's not going to be here for LSU as a safety. I need to switch gears, and I'm going to go to who is LSU bringing in from the portal. Ryan Kelly said we're going to be aggressive, right? He said that after signing day, which I thought LSU signed a great class. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way too. Nooch and I have kind of talked about it, but I want to reemphasize this. We didn't land Bryce Underwood. I already forgot his name. We didn't land him. It's Tuesday morning, by the way, so I'm drinking coffee, y'all. We didn't land Bryce Underwood. He wound up at Michigan because they have Larry Ellison is dating some Michigan grad, and she wanted him to buy Bryce Underwood, so he did. So LSU didn't get him. And I said then, and I meant it. I was honestly saying it before it ever happened, but nobody was listening, and everybody thought I was full of shit. I didn't want us to get Bryce Underwood because you knew you were going to have to pay top dollar for the number one player coming out of high school, especially at a position, the most important position on the field, cornerback. No, quarterback. I'm joking. For me and Nooch, cornerback's the most important position on the field. We're going to get to that too. But I didn't like LSU even considering paying outlandish amounts of NIL money to him when you needed cornerbacks. You needed defensive end help bad. You needed the trenches. That's where games are won and lost. The trenches. Say what you want. The offense is pretty when you have a guy that can throw the ball all around the field and you have great wide receivers. You have a great quarterback. Hey, trust me, I love 2019. It was fantastic. I loved last season, 2023, with Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. It was great. But we didn't win anything. Well, we did with Joe Burrow, but we had everything that year. And that offense was on a whole nother level. Look at what they're chasing and here doing in the NFL. It's ridiculous. That's not a fair comparison. But we need to concentrate on the trenches, and we need to shore up the defense, the secondary, first and foremost. So I didn't like us going after Bryce Underwood at all, and I was good with us not getting him because I had a feeling, number one, Garrett Nussmeier's coming back. Bryce Underwood, we're not going to pay him $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is, to sit and hold a clipboard, maybe run in there and do some wildcat plays while Garrett Nussmeier is leading the team. Why? That doesn't make any sense in any environment. Certainly not college football. And when you looked at the big picture, the top 10 at the time when Nooch and I were talking about this, I believe 7 of the quarterbacks of the top 10 teams were transfers. Joe Burrow was transferred to LSU. Jaden Daniels was a transfer to LSU. It's very rare. Garrett Nussmeier's are very rare where you get a college quarterback, a high school quarterback, to come in and stay the whole time at the same university. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the last one to do it at LSU was Jordan Jefferson. Jordan Jefferson. I guess you could also say pick six. God, I can't remember his name. Lee. Anyway, block that part of LSU football out of my memory. All right, so we didn't get Bryce Underwood. Okay, all that did was free up some cash. We didn't get Jakeem Stewart. Let's talk about him. 17 years old, reclassified from he was going to be class of 2025, reclassified to class of 2024. So he's 17 years old coming out of high school. He played one season of high school. He transferred in order to reclassify from I believe St. Aug to Carr, and he couldn't even play because he reclassified. He transferred in, so he had to sit out a year. Well, and you can't play. So he didn't play his senior year, or really it was his junior year. So he played his sophomore season of high school football. And USC wanted to pay him $2 million a year. Go on. Do it. Again, I don't see that being a person that's going to come in and start right away and be productive. He's 17 years old. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. His ceiling is probably higher than anybody we have. Same with Bryce Underwood. Ceiling is probably higher, but his floor is lower than the guys we have and the guys that we're going to bring in through the portal that are much more attainable financially. Okay. We didn't get Cade Phillips at cornerback. That one hurt me the most because he was not super expensive in the portal. He wasn't as expensive as DJ Pickett, and we got him. But the bottom line is let's go get a couple of guys out of the portal and pay less for them. And they're proven. They're proven guys. And so here's what LSU has done so far. Let's start with the defensive ends. Jack Pyburn from Florida. Nebraska defensive end Jamari Butler. So just real brief, because I'm going to keep this brief. Jamari Butler is a pass rusher. Jack Pyburn, he's a defensive end, edge, whatever you want to call him, but he is not a pass rusher. He may want to be, but what he is a beast of a tackler. And Nooch has often said, we need some guys that are just dogs. So I heard a Florida media member talking about Jack Pyburn and what he was going to miss about him, and basically said he's a dog. He said he was the kind of guy that in a press conference made this quote or something similar to it. Basically, sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail, but he said 100% of the time, I'm the hammer and I'm going to hit you. That's a dog comment, and I like that. So that's both of those guys, by the way, were starters at their respective schools at defensive end. So defensive end was what I would consider a need, and you're glad to get these two guys, two P4 starters. Now, cornerback, again, a need. Safety is a must, and I don't have any news to report for you there. Safety is a must. Cornerback is a need. You have cornerbacks. You already had DJ Pickett. You just signed the #1 cornerback in the country coming out of high school, and you paid good money for him. You already have Ashton Stamps, my man crush, going into his third year. Started his first 2 years. And now you have PJ Woodland coming back. Played a lot of football as a true freshman. He's going to get better. So you have cornerbacks. You have pieces there. But why wouldn't you want to add a couple of P4 starters? How about start with Florida, Jakeem Jackson? So Florida, Jack Pyburn. Florida, Jakeem Jackson. So we got two from the University of Florida. Jakeem Jackson, cornerback, was recruited to Florida by Corey Raymond. And now he is reunited with Corey Raymond. I'm going to trust Corey Raymond on this because Corey Raymond is killing it. All right. So Corey Raymond brings in Jakeem Jackson, starter at Florida, a P4 SEC school. Same as Jack Pyburn, P4 SEC starter. Then he brings in, this just happened yesterday, Virginia Tech cornerback Mansour Delane. So, never heard of him? Okay, we'll get to it. Um, Hell of a tackler. Started, I think, 3 years at Virginia Tech, at least the last two. But again, P4 starter, ACC, P4 starter. He was freshman All American, so I know he must have started his freshman year. He was freshman All American at Virginia Tech. Has a handful of interceptions, like six, I think. Um, Tons of pass breakups, passes defended. But again, loads of tackles, which is, good and bad. It's bad for their defense that he's the guy with loads of tackles playing boundary corner. But it's good that he's not afraid to tackle because we had that issue with our cornerbacks this past year. Zy Alexander, sometimes he was fantastic at it, and sometimes he was like a spaz. My guy wasn't a great tackler. Period. He wants to be, but he's too small. But now you got Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech. So that's the four guys you brought in so far on defense. Just a flashback to last year. Last year we brought in 9 portal guys. Not a single one of them was top 100. And only 2 of them were top 150. One of those was Jordan Gilbert. So, with that said, all of the guys I've mentioned so far and that I will mention in the next 5 minutes or so are top 150 guys. All of them were starters at P4, mostly SECs. In fact, the next 3, the offensive guys I'm about to mention, all starters at SEC schools last year. So let's get to that. But that just speaks to the aggression that Brian Kelly was talking about. Last year, they were not aggressive. They brought in bodies. This year, they're bringing in impact players. Offensively, we brought in another quarterback. Did we need another quarterback? You're damn right we did, because the first name I mentioned on the transfer out was Ricky Collins. So now you got 3. We were in the game for a high school kid, Bryce Baker. I guess we just wanted to get a damn Bryce. But when Bill Belichick, can you believe Bill Belichick is a head coach at North Carolina, the Tar Heels? He is. When he agreed to become the coach there, Bryce Baker was already committed there, and he decided to stick. He's like, yeah, I see what you did for Tom Brady or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it was the Super Bowl rings that just, he couldn't resist. So he stayed with his commitment to North Carolina. So we went out and we got Mississippi State QB Michael Van Buren. He has 3 more years to play, guys. He was a true freshman this past year, started 8 games at Mississippi State. Yes, Mississippi State. I understand that. Not a great year that they had. He did okay, though. He did pretty well as a true freshman in, I said 8 games. He has 7 or 8 games. But in 7 or 8 games, he threw for 2,000 yards. Prorate that out. If he goes to 12 games, that's 3,000 yards. That's a damn good season. Didn't have the interceptions that Nussmeier had. Didn't have the touchdowns either, but he did have a much higher touchdown to interception ratio. He was the highest rated out of the ones that I've mentioned so far. He's the highest rated transfer guy. Kentucky wide receiver, Barian Brown. Actually, he might have been the highest rated. I think he was the highest rated. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But I think he was the highest rated, and Michael Van Buren was second highest rated. But Barian Brown was a beast. Now he's just got, I believe, 1 year to play, but highly productive at Kentucky until they lost their quarterback and changed up their offense. And then Kentucky went to shit this year. So Barian Brown hit the portal because he's like, man, I got to get some film because my film's 2 years old now. Well, happy to have him. We did need a wide receiver. I would say we needed a quarterback. We needed a wide receiver. I know we needed a tight end, and we got Oklahoma tight end Bauer Sharp. starter. If you recognize the name, he's the guy that threw the interception to Sage Ryan when we played Oklahoma. So you don't want him throwing the ball. But anyway, he's their leading. I want to say he was their leading receiver. Now Jackson Arnold wasn't exactly stretching the field, but I want to say he was Oklahoma's leading receiver. Definitely their top tight end, and so we had to have a tight end. That's seven guys. I can go ahead and tell you. One moment. I'll go ahead and tell you we got a guy lined up that I think is going to pop today. Today's Tuesday, the 17th of December, either today or tomorrow at safety. We got a guy at center that's going to pop in the next couple of days. And we got another big time wide receiver that I'm looking forward to. So hang tight. Let's see what happens as we go forward in the portal. But LSU is doing great in the portal. The recruiting class I thought was excellent, but a lot of LSU fans were just upset we didn't get those big fish. But again, guys, when you have to pay that kind of money for high schoolers, I don't want that. And if y'all think I'm crazy for that, let me know. Nooch is with me on it, I know. That's why we didn't invite him, because we like to have a 2-point conversion. We like to argue a little bit. We weren't on opposite sides of the fence on this. Plus, he didn't care about recruiting. He says, let me know when they get to campus, and then he'll cheer for them. But anyway, guys, hey, come check us out over at GameDayTigers.com. We do have a lot of content going on regarding the transfer portal right now. Nooch is hyped up about baseball season. Jay Johnson is a dog, and he killed it again in recruiting. Nooch cares about that recruiting for some reason. I don't understand why. But anyway, guys, come check us out over there, and we would love to have you. Nooch will buy you a beer. Hit us up, GameDayTigers.com. Y'all have a good one.